Previously on the Game On podcast.
I mean, it was, and then you had the place going the other way where we're all going to Melbourne.
Yeah, no, it is quite incredible in that regard. And you then from Ardlethan ended up at the Farrer in the Farrer Football League playing with East Wagga and won the Baz Medal. Love the name, the Baz Medal.
The Baz Medal, mate.
Yes.
Actually, you wouldn't believe it. I won two things on the one day. I won the Baz Medal and I won a red billy card.
Wow.
In a raffle.
That's a story in itself.
It is, mate. It is. It was just I don't know what ever happened to the red billy card, though.
Now, one thing, Greg, like nowadays, we have the draft, the kids start from bang 18, that you actually, from there, ended up at South Melbourne and earning the nickname the Bionic Man. We'll go on with that. But it was 23 before you made your debut. Sort of, was that just more the era of just getting discovered back then as much as anything?
Well, no, not really, mate. I'd been down to Melbourne. I went down when I was, I think, 15.
Okay.
And, I played in a trial match, and you wouldn't believe who I played against, Peter Bedford. Like, he just won the Brownlow. So,
fair opponent, yep.
Yeah, then I went down and I never stayed there, mate. I like a bush kid, you were just wanted to go home. So, I just kept going home. There was one where I'd been down there and I did my hamstring and I had a bruise from the top of my bum to the bottom of my ankle, but it cost me $50 to fly back to Wagga, and I rang my arm man up from Wagga and said, listen, you better come pick me up. He said, I'm not driving to Melbourne. I said, I'm not in Melbourne. I'm in Wagga.
Sportscast SA presents Game On. Game On. South Australians' destination for everything sports. Local, national, and international sports. AFL football, soccer, basketball, golf, baseball, tennis, cricket, and any other sports played in this wide world. And we're going to have a blast doing it. So sit back, relax, and let's do this thing. Welcome to Game On.
Welcome to Game On. My name's Pete, once again joined by Malcolm and Greg, experiencing what most of the youngsters are experiencing these days when it comes to the AFL and in a bit of homesickness.
Yeah, Smithy was an interesting chat, and he's certainly been around the traps and around a few different places. And, of course, as we said, he did say it was one of his highlights was Shelby holding aloft the Premiership Cup for the Dogs. And, top bloke. Look forward to catching up with him reasonably soon, actually.
Absolutely. And Wagga actually has a rich breeding ground of Australian rules footballers. Yep. So certainly from very good paddock, that's for sure.
Oh, not only footy, cricket. You've got Jeff Lawson, Mike Slater, Mark Taylor from around that area. So, it's very much, Wayne Carey. It's a super breeding ground.
Well, we thank Greg for his time once again and look forward to catching up with him at some stage, obviously, during the SANFLW coming up and obviously the SANFL finals.
Definitely.
Around the grounds.
Today, mate, we're going to have a bit of a talk about the basketball, some tennis, some cricket, but I think we've got to start off with the AFL, the hottest topic on everybody's lips since Saturday night, Adelaide v Sydney, and the goal that wasn't a goal.
Oh, did something happen this week, mate? Yeah, look, it's been unbelievable, the reaction. I do remember there is a particular pretty well-known person in the footy traps, and he did say that 90% of people on social media have no idea, and, geez, this week's certainly proved that it's roughly with that. And, yeah, it's been staggering. People, the reaction from Crow supporters, the goal umpire made a mistake. Now, it was a disgraceful error. Don't get me wrong there, and why he was so sure the ball hit the goalpost, and
well, that's what I was going to.
Quite bizarre.
That's what I was going to go back to. You know, how did we get to this point? Obviously, Keys taking a shot on the boundary line, plays on to advantage. Ball seems to be spinning in the right direction. 2 Sydney players on the line, one tapping the post. Again, I actually rewatched the footage today. Another Sydney player pointing at the post to say it had hit the post. Yeah. It's the biggest bluff of all time. But you're right. How does the umpire confidently call in that situation?
I think he was so shocked that Keys had actually kicked the ball remotely straight, mate. But, if it was kicking Keys, it should have gone out on the full by 50 yards.
It was a bit of a mongrel ball, though, I must admit.
But look...
But the system failed. At the end of the day, we have to say, look, human error, yes.
But the irony is the system would have worked if he'd done really what he should have done and gone, geez, I'm not 100% sure, let's check.
Yep.
And if he'd done that, he would have said, I thought it was a point. Well, no, it's actually overwhelming evidence that it's a goal. It's changed. So the AFL actually are spewing because this was the chance that the system actually worked and the goal umpire stuffed that up. Now it will be changed. It'll go that whoever's up in the arc will have the power to overrule. That's going to come in.
So let's just talk about that briefly for a minute. What I've heard a few things muted. Obviously, the last 2 minutes they're saying in every game will be taken out of the hands of the umpire, and all shots on goal, whether it be goal or point, will be reviewed. You agree with that?
Oh, at the moment, people are going, well, how come it wasn't reviewed? No, every goal's reviewed. He gave it a point. Now, the other people are saying, why didn't the field umpire come in and overrule? No, the goal umpire is the sole judge of a score. Now, what should have happened was the goal umpire go, hey, I'm not 100% sure. Then the field umpire runs in and gives the signal for the square, same as cricket, basically, in that regard. And that's what should have happened.
Yes.
But as soon as he went, no, I'm sure, bang, I'm sure it's hit the post. Now, the field umpire has given you all clear. He can't run in and go to the goal umpire and, well, no, you've got to check. That's not his responsibility. Now, it would have been great courage for one of the field umpires to go against protocol, put his own job on the line. If he'd done that, comes in and the ball had hit the post, he's sacked himself. So
let's look at a scenario where the umpire is 25 metres away or 15 to 20 metres away. Crowd is absolutely going bananas that they've come from so far behind. Keys has kicked a goal, and I'll say that in inverted commas as we're here speaking because it wasn't a judged goal at the time. Can that central umpire or that field umpire actually give the all clear to a boundary umpire when the crowd is going so cocoa bananas that he may not have heard it?
The field umpire gives the all clear using his hands. 2 hands, he considers it's a goal. 1 hand, he considers it's a point. Now, that is a guide for the goal umpire.
Right.
Now, most times the goal umpire follows that. In this, I actually don't know what the field umpire gave. I haven't seen that, whether he gave the 2 hands or one.
Some of the footage is inconclusive. But it does seem that the umpire or central umpire in this occasion was further away than probably what they should have been.
Maybe, but in that, he's just got, well, all clear, your call.
Yep.
Geez, hey, he's adamant. It's hit the post, it's call. Get on with the game.
So then we go along the lines of Taylor Walker's come out during the week.
No, I want to go back to one point I got from last night from Mark Ducker. And Ducks is spot on. His dad, former state cricketer, league goal umpire, and John Ducker, pointed out the positioning, how they've changed the positioning. In the old days, that person would have been on the other post seeing it. If that's not a better position than where they're instructed now, I'm in another planet. So it's not only that, they're positioning now, coaching instruction, and all what shits me out of it, and I'm really all right on this field umpiring as well, all the umpires say it privately, that the positioning's not right, but they won't stand as a group and unite and go, well, no, that's not right, let's change it.
I was always under the opinion that the angle of where Keys was and kicking from, that he would have been on that far post, because if it had gone across the face, he would have been in a better position to judge it. If it had cut across the front of the face, he's still in the best position to be able to judge it. But I'm not a goal umpire.
No, but also, as Ducks pointed out last night, and he does watch our podcast, that you have the boundary umpires used to be on each point post.
Yes.
Now, the boundary umpires would then say to the goal umpire, "No, it's gone through, Max, John, whatever. Yep. No, shit, it's mine, Max, it's a point." So there was communication where now they're not there. They might as well be in the zoo, some of their positioning.
So this is an AFL run game.
Yep.
So we have to put some of the blame on them as far as training.
Yep.
As far as messaging between.
Yep.
But you've got an AFL that don't have a GM at the moment.
Oh, and also you had the drama from last year, the prelim
final.
The Brisbane
Richmond,
and the Lynch game. Wouldn't you have gone through right? What's every potential situation? Okay, goal umpire is adamant at something. It's proven it's not, that he's power. So what are we going to do about it? But no, it's still not there. So in that regard, the AFL, McLaughlin, Gill, the whole lot, palpably guilty of incompetence. But the current system they have in play would have worked if the goal umpire did what he's meant to have done.
Yep. So, where to from here? We did talk briefly a minute ago about a potential 2 minutes hits the clock. They take over the potential for any of this to happen. Take it out of their hands a little bit.
I think it'll go to how soccer is, where they call the VAR. So there'll be a kick out. The person will review it up top. No, that's wrong. That past 20 seconds doesn't count.
Yes.
We reset. I think that's what will happen.
You've led me into my next point, which was, do we get to a situation where Sydney were quite hot on getting the ball out as quickly as possible?
They were smart.
But they knew that they only had 70 seconds to go.
Yeah, but they did that deliberately.
Correct.
Once the kick-in is taken, you can't then review.
Yes.
Brisbane at that stage, Sydney at that stage, if the ball hadn't been picked up, the goal umpire's given it a point, maybe
there may have been a remonstration.
Field umpires might have run in and said, hey, I'm adamant that went through. I strongly suggest you check. Oh, shit, okay, we'll check. So Sydney were actually smart.
What is it with Sydney and posts? Because they've been climbing them, they've been tapping them.
Yeah.
And you almost saw Tom Hickey's face after the game, sort of walking away from the umpires with the Cheshire grin going, geez, I think we've got one there. So they're the sort of the couple of options that have been thrown up at the moment. But the arc has been cobbled together with footage from a TV broadcast that just hasn't worked since 2009 with the Hawkins goal, non-goal.
It's been in for 12 years. It still hasn't worked. The Carlton-Melbourne game the week before, the Carlton guy didn't touch that. He just brilliantly bluffed the umpire and that. For mine, get rid of it altogether. Let's go back. I'm sorry, we've now got this me society. How dare I've been wrong. We all accepted umpire's decision and got on with it years ago. There's no different from the umpire making a mistake than a player missing from 2 yards out. Adelaide kicked 4-7 in 4-8 in the last quarter. 4
were rushed though, so
I know, but they'd still they had their chances.
Absolutely, and that's what it gets down to.
I'll sit there too and say, control the controllables. Adelaide this year, their major stuff up for mine was not going to Darwin earlier. They stuffed that up. I'm sorry, I can't believe that Pedler was the sub last week. Control the controllables. The goal umpire made a mistake. Some of the carry-on was saying, reverse the result. Hang on, are we going to reverse every result an umpire's made a mistake in? No, there was 71 seconds. 71 seconds is enough time to kick 2 goals, let alone 1.
Correct.
In fact, there's probably been 3 goals kicked in 71 seconds. So,
Sydney didn't look like kicking a goal.
No,
I think that's where
I
agree. There are things that you just can't nail down, like the Dawson one with Collingwood. All right, free kick. Wholly agree with that, but he's still got to kick the goal for them to win.
Yeah, but also that one, yes, he should have been a free kick, but are we going to review every other free kick in the game? The reaction has been insane. It's been embarrassing as a Crows supporter. Just ridiculous.
I think it's a case of a lot of frustration being let out at a year that has promised so much for Adelaide and has just not quite failed to deliver on the basis that they've lost a lot of close games by under a goal, essentially.
But let's go back to how many was their mistakes for losing those goals. I just think that
they'll learn from it, and it'll something that will sit in the belly, hopefully over the summer for the Crows. But my last 2 points on this one, and we'll move on. We have to.
Definitely.
Taylor Walker's come out sort of during the week and said potentially the 4 umpires isn't working. We've talked about it extensively. It's just interesting to hear a player's point of view on it.
I think it was just smart by text just to say, well, everyone in footy is all saying the 4 umpires has been terrible. It's been a dismal failure. Hey, AFL, let's get rid of one of them. He didn't want it. He doesn't care about him going up the scoring box. He just wants to get him off the ground. I couldn't agree with him more.
Yeah. And the other one is obviously the human element to this, and as much as we're all piling on going the umpire made a bad decision, there's been a million bad decisions that have been made. Yes, this one was at a crucial point in the game, but I think Dawson probably put it perfectly, and Nix himself. This was all damage was done in the first couple of quarters, and they should never have been in this position in the first place. If they were up by 2 or 3 goals and this happened, all right, there would have been a little bit of a rumbling how the arc hasn't worked and so on and so on, but it wouldn't be to the point that it is right now. Exactly right.
But to say the result should have been reversed and people saying Adelaide should now get 2 more first-round draft choices, an absolute diarrhea stupidity.
Mate, I was going to move on, but you've lit me up again here. This particular result and this particular decision, it had a flow-on effect for other teams as well in Geelong and I believe Richmond, St Kilda, Richmond as well. So, and obviously Sydney and GWS, and so the ripple effect was huge when this potentially could have been one of the best finishes to the AFL season for a long, long time that I can remember anyway.
And probably the irony that Western Bulldogs losing the next day, which Adelaide needed to happen, you thought it was no chance.
Yes.
Cost me 9 in the footy tipping comp, actually. And that's so, look, let's move on.
Yeah, the ripple effect was just huge. But you're right. 2 first-round draft picks, whoever's mentioning that, I must admit I was probably half an hour after the game thinking that there would be some sort of legal challenge like most people. But a couple of days later, you sort of sit down and think about it logically. I did hear John Olsen from the Crows speak on the radio on Monday night about it, put forward a pretty logical case of, there were 71 seconds to go. We can't do anything about that part of it. If there'd been under 5 seconds to go, you've probably got a little bit of a case to answer. But again,
let's just say I'm
involved
involved in Adelaide Uni Footy Club, so it's not like I don't speak to lawyers every single day. And one of them, very high up, burst out laughing about potential legal change. He said straight out, there's no case whatsoever.
Yeah, that's just fair enough. All right, let's move on. Yep. Round 23 in the AFL, Brisbane getting over the line against Collingwood.
Yeah, as expected, really, because Collingwood just so many out and all that. I still think Collingwood are the team to beat personally. They'd need to get the players back and all that, but I still think they'll be around the mark.
Richmond sending off a couple of their greats in their last home game of the year against North Melbourne. 29 points.
Probably, actually, in all honesty, it hasn't received as much publicity as it could, because of what happened in Adelaide. But what happened to Cunnington from North Melbourne is terrible, and that probably is the worst thing to happen out of the weekend.
Well, hold off on that till we finish this round of the AFL, and I've got a couple of points there to talk about as well. Carlton just getting over the line against Gold Coast with 4 points.
Yes, yeah.
So, Gold Coast were in control of that game, and me as a Blues supporter going, oh my God, this is not the ideal situation that you want, and they found a way to win, and Charlie Curnow, I think he's going to richly deserve the Coleman medal and has done it up forward and down back.
Yeah, and as someone said earlier in the week, you judge players when their team's not playing well, and he stood up and really got Carlton over the line.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Giants absolutely doing a number on Essendon by 126 points. That's just one of the worst losses of the year, really.
It was. I saw a bit of the game before because that was on at the Queen's Head before the Crows game, and it was weird. Just Yeah. Essendon were pitiful. Like, Giants were good, but Essendon were
And they had everything to play for as well at the end of the day. It was amazing that Essendon had everything to play for at the beginning of the round to give themselves a chance of playing finals. Failed right from the get-go. Adelaide were in the same boat for half a game, and the Bulldogs, which we'll get to in a minute.
Yeah, Essendon's pressure was about, I've seen better efforts in an under-9s game on Saturday morning.
Oh, fair call. St Kilda back on the winners list against Geelong.
Yeah, look, they're the team
Smokies?
of the season. Yeah, but they're the team, because I don't think that their list is that good. Yep. I think they've only got a couple of genuine A-graders, and Ross Lyon, full credit to him, and the whole coaching panel. Look, I think some of the recruiting the last couple of years, of which a certain Jay Gallagher was the one who pushed for Wanganeen Malira, has turned out to be
a gem,
a very astute selection.
Yep.
And Matthias, Matthias had a pretty good year. Let's not forget, he comes from under-18s. He didn't play a league game over here.
Yep.
He's a great kid, absolutely wrapped for the Filippo household, and be following Matthias in the final series big time.
Absolutely, and another South Australian that both teams would love to get back at some stage. We did talk about Adelaide and Sydney, obviously Sydney by point.
Yeah, move on.
The big shock of the weekend was West Coast defeating the Bulldogs.
Just terrible, the Bulldogs as well. And two, you thought it's been a contest. The Bulldogs have got 2 goals up at three-quarter time. They'll run away here and win by 5, and then it just didn't happen.
Yes.
I went and watched the South Adelaide Eagles under-18s game on Sunday, because that was for top spot. And following that game in the background, and we all went, jeez.
A couple of experienced players back for West Coast certainly helped, but you're right. There's something not quite right at the Bulldogs at the moment, and I'm sure that if they do miss the finals, it's not going to be the worst thing for them, because it'll probably create a pretty big review. And I know that Adelaide are looking at one of their players as well and getting them over. So we'll see how that all pans out. Yeah. Melbourne doing the job against Hawthorn.
Yep, did what they had to do. Newcomb a late out for Hawthorn for mine. Changed that up a fair bit. He had 40-odd touches the week before, and he's probably their premier midfielder. So they were still competitive again, though, Hawthorn. Hawthorn's improvement from the start of the year has been dramatic. So,
yep.
Yeah.
And their last 6 or 8 weeks have been
very,
very good. So, and Port Adelaide doing what they needed to do against the Dockers. They sort of hung around a little bit at times, but Port looked like they were always in control. And again, the usual suspects step up, and Horn Francis, Butters, Rosie.
The dynamic 3 on the, and as I've said, come September, fine weather, good luck against those 3. I actually, if results happen this week, so if Brisbane beat St Kilda and then so Port play them in the first final up in Brisbane, I give Port a massive chance, because I can see their midfield being too quick for Brisbane. So
absolutely. All right, and obviously to finish out round 23, we had a new coach appointed up at the Gold Coast, which was no secret, but I'm a bit cynical. It seems like the AFL PR machine rolled out Monday morning going, we've got to get a different story on the front page, and that's what they did. But I think this one had been in the works for a little while. But Damien Hardwork up at Gold Coast, I think that's a very good get for them.
I think the appointment had been in the pipeline from even before the season. So, out of that, look, and if you offered me any role, any coaching role, that is the plum appointment. Having seen their 3 academy kids they pick up who would have all 3 out of the top 10, you add to that to already Rao, Anderson, Miller, etc. Walter will take the competition by storm next year. Yep. He is the best key position player. I'm rating him above both Kings before he got picked, at the same time.
Yep.
Wow. Good luck. Good luck competing against that next year. That's how high. And, that game, sitting with some recruiters from other from various clubs, and as Wales said, don't worry about next year. He'd be in any teams. He'd be in any sides next week. Mm-hmm. So that's how impressive he was.
A little bit like the Lee Matthews going up to Brisbane, premiership coach coming in to help Gold Coast obviously firstly achieve a final,
yep,
and then
roll on
very,
from there.
very, very pointed that he comes out and says, you know what, 80% of our premiership side is in this room. He set the bar right from the get-go, which is exactly what you want as a franchise, a new franchise.
But I reckon that
needs
smart,
success.
Smart, and I think, being honest, it's true.
Yep.
That's also, it's not the wah-wah, Mark, Steve, wah-wah chat and just talk it up. No, that's how much ability is in that Gold Coast side.
Yep. Couple of retirements. Tommy Jonas. Yeah, it does get to this time of the year, and we do get a few that come along, but the one that stands out for us is Tommy Jonas, saying that once the season's done for Port Adelaide, I'm done, and he's hoping that it's obviously a grand final.
Tommy Jonas, now this is it's a few weeks ago now, probably several months actually. He may have been shopping at Foodland at Norwood, and he may have walked out and had workers in there chasing him he'd forgotten to pay. And one of them may have been number 35 for Norwood in Jack Hurd. So, yes,
right.
I can say that it's very good mail that it did happen.
Well, maybe it is time to retire. Great servant for the Port Adelaide Footy Club, obviously coming from Norwood, so he's obviously one that we've kept an eye on, and disappointed that he's in the black and the white, but you know, his 1%ers at Port Adelaide make him a Port Adelaide legend, really.
And another one, his dad, John, may have bought a copy of my book to give to Tommy for Christmas to remind him of his Norwood roots.
Fair
I thought that was great by John. Look, also, massive credit to Tom Jonas because he didn't go through the traditional bit. He actually ended up at Norwood from Ross Trevor. Bass got him out from Ross Trevor, where he wasn't even playing. He was playing A's and B's a bit. So incredible that he's gone on to captain an AFL side, play over 200 games. Now, massive praise for him.
Timmy G, we listen to him occasionally, and he's been on this podcast. He said that he's about 200 1%ers above any other Port Adelaide player, which makes him a Port Adelaide legend, really, at the end of the day. And gone on to be a very, very good club man. All right, mate, we're going to quickly whiz through this week's rounds. Round 24, Essendon v Collingwood.
I'll go Collingwood.
Collingwood for me as well. Hawthorn v Freo.
I'll go Hawthorn.
Hawthorn at the MCG for me as well. North Melbourne v Gold Coast.
It is down in Tasmania.
Yep.
I'll still go Gold Coast.
Yeah, I think Gold Coast as well. Brisbane v St Kilda.
Up there, I think that's the game of the round. I do give St Kilda a genuine chance, but you do have to tip Brisbane with their record up there.
Absolutely, and you wouldn't want to play them up there in the first week of the finals. Yeah. But like you said, Port Adelaide could get first crack at them and could do some damage. Geelong v the Bulldogs.
Toss the coin. Both sides disappointing.
GMHBA Stadium.
That's good enough for me. I'll go the Cats.
I think for me as well. And this was a game that we were actually looking forward to potentially shape it for one of those two teams. Now it's only up to the Bulldogs to win it. So you're right. Geelong for me, though. West Coast v the Crows.
I'll go Adelaide.
I think
even though the disappointment from last week, I think they're just a better side. I'd be surprised.
And they'll be looking to finish the year on a high. You know, obviously they get the trip over to the West. They were hoping that they were going to be in contention still, but if not, they can still put a good foot forward for next year. Port Adelaide v Richmond, Adelaide Oval, 12 p.m. on a Sunday, a little bit earlier.
Yeah, I'll go Port.
I think Port as well. Sydney v Melbourne at the SCG. This one's going to be a bit of a belter.
That's a good, potentially a very good game. I'll still go Melbourne.
And for me, Carlton v GWS. This is the game of the round for me.
Yeah, it is.
It is at Marvel Stadium, 5:40. It's the last game of the round.
See, the other hard one with that is it may not matter by that stage and it may already be automatic. So a little hard in that way, but I'll go the Blues.
These are some of these ripple effects that we did talk about earlier. Unfortunately, it hasn't quite panned out the way we all thought. But anyway, that's the way it is. All right, we're going to take a very quick break. We'll come back with the SANFL. We've got to talk about the World Cup. We'll do some basketball and some cricket, and we'll go on from there.
Yep.
You're listening to the Game On Podcast. We'll be right back after this short break.
And the SNFL, mate, tipped a draw,
Yes.
which was unbelievable. But we actually got two for the first time, I believe, since 1958.
Yeah.
So we'll run through these games. Round 17.
So Bill Drodge, I will give Bill he did message me early Sunday morning. Said it's all you and Pete's fault for that. So g'day, Bill. Well played.
I pulled the curse on that one. But we'll start off with South Adelaide drawing with Port Adelaide, which was an interesting game. South
were a long way in front too. It could be an important point for Port in the end there. South obviously probably from the position they were in, but then a great comeback. So, Yep.
Funny how these things work. North Adelaide losing to Central's. North were up all day and Central's found a way to win.
Yeah, good goal in the end too, the last goal. And that, they've been fantastic the way Centrals have really fought and clawed and just...
They found a way to win.
But they've almost found a way to actually make every single game a contest. So, full congratulations to the Dogs and, Greg Edwards and Rossi and Paul Thomas. So, yeah.
They're my surprise packet for the year. I thought they might struggle a little bit, but, gee, it's amazing when you put your nose to the ground and work hard and make it a contest. Anything can happen.
Yeah, they've been good, the Dogs.
Biggest surprise for the weekend for me, Woodville West Torrens defeating Glenelg.
Yeah, that was an upset in terms of you just would have thought a bit more to play for and all that, but that sort of thing does happen towards the end of the year. Teams with sort of just relax probably a bit more, have a bit more fun.
Mm-hmm.
As we know, how much is played above the ears, not quite as tuned on as they should be, the opposition. So, yeah.
And it certainly seemed that way from some of the highlights I've seen. But again, bad kicking costs a little bit, 12-10 to 16-8. Woodville West Torrens certainly got the better of that one. Now, Norwood were in control against West Adelaide most of the day, and West sort of found a way to get themselves back into it. And yeah, like you said, I got the message from you going, people are jumping up and down going, why did I tip it? But at the end of the day, it's what ended up happening.
I've got to be honest, I've just received the email from where I used to work. I'm still in the tipping comp, and I won the tipping comp this week, and it's quite amusing. Donald Blair's does a very amusing write-up each week, and, it's quite funny. We might read a little bit of that out later. You'll get a good laugh, mate.
All right, we might do that at the end of when we do these tips for the final round. And obviously Adelaide defeating Sturt, which was I did actually watch this one on the telecast, and Sturt were good, but Adelaide again just that little bit too strong, weren't they?
Yeah, surprising really though, because Adelaide have fair few injuries, so they're not playing there's not a huge number wise of SANFL. So full credit to them, where you've got to give Adelaide their due and have a crack at every other club. Mm-hmm. I certainly include Norwood in that. Mm-hmm. The top-up players, how many of them should be at an SANFL club at the moment? Like I'd say there's at least 3 or 4 would walk into the Norwood side. So, yeah,
I think
well done there.
Adelaide complemented their AFL-listed players. Their AFL-listed players looked like they got a ton of the ball and made some very, very good decisions. But again, Mickey Godden is... for the third week in a row, I can't fault him at the moment. He has done a fantastic job in transferring these players from non-SANFL players into an SANFL program, and then their AFL-listed players into an AFL program, and not really skipped a beat.
And it'll be interesting. So we get a chance to have a look at that on this weekend because, of course, they're playing Norwood, and 2 more, Sloan and McAdam, both out injured from the Crows side. So another 2 there because I don't think there's anyone else to come back.
Yes.
And Himmelberg out for the year. I thought Adelaide might fall away a bit without him.
Yep.
Strawn didn't play last week, so they were really down on tools. And, so
they're in a good position, absolutely. All right, we move on to the final round of the SANFL, round 18. Woodville West Torrens v West Adelaide.
Yeah, I'll go Woodville West Torrens.
I think Woodville West Torrens will finish off the year on a high, a couple of wins in a row, and start rebuilding. Obviously, Jay Sheedy he's going to retire at the end of the year, his coaching, because of work commitments. So, very interesting there. All right, the Bulldogs v Port Adelaide.
I'm going to go for the Dogs.
I think the Dogs have got everything to play for, and it is out at Elizabeth. So, I can't say no, but Again, we'll wait to see what happens with the AFL team, but you're right. The Bulldogs have put themselves in a good position to make finals this year, and they need this more than anything at the moment, that's for sure. Glenelg v. the Panthers.
I'll go Glenelg to rebound.
Yeah, I think Glenelg got the kick in the pants they need just before the finals. Totally agree. Blockbuster game here, the Roosters v. Sturt.
Yeah, out there.
At the Wembley of the North?
Yes. I'll go Sturt. Toss a coin.
It is a bit of a toss of the coin. For me, it's game of the round because there's so many ramifications that play on this, obviously, for Sturt in the top couple and North Adelaide in making the finals as well. Norwood v. Adelaide at the Parade.
Adelaide's so many out. I'm going to go for Norwood. Just hopefully finish the year. Yeah, we'll leave it at that.
No, fair call. The off season can't come quick enough. Give them an opportunity to reset and reload and go again and take stock of what's happened this year, not only on the field but off the field. But you're right. Let's see the end of the round. But looking at the ladder, Glenelg sitting top, Adelaide sitting second, Sturt sitting third, Port sitting fourth, Central's in the in the five.
Yep.
As we speak. But North Adelaide are really the only team that can knock them out, hence the reason why the North Sturt game is just as important as the Port Central's game as well. So
just your faux pas there. That actually reminded me of Wayne Flipper's great line where Flipper said, when the Redbacks had finished bottom, what's your problem? I coached them into the 8.
There you go.
Typical idiot Flipper.
Well, Nord are inside the top 10, so we're going all right. All right, I'll let you read that email out that you've got in front of you there, mate, about the footy tipping before we move on to the World Cup.
Another tight week this week. The star of the show was New York Times best-selling author Malcolm Ashwood. In a week where most tipsters were afraid to go out on a limb, Malcolm stood head and shoulders above the rest with 8 out of 9, 2 points clear of second place. Rumour has it that Malcolm, an umpire himself, was the only one at Adelaide Oval cheering when the goal umpire ruled the ball had hit the post. Let's hope for Malcolm's sake the AFL integrity unit don't look too closely this one. You idiot. Donald, thank you.
Ah, wow. Yes, there's all sorts of ramifications from that, but well put. All right, mate, we'll leave the SANFL there, and obviously we've got finals coming up, and we'll take a bit more of a deep dive into that once we know who's there. And it's an exciting finish to the SANFL finals run this year, and look forward to looking into it a little bit further as we go along. All right, the World Cup, mate. Where do we start? Let's unpack these playing for third and fourth place. Australia v Sweden.
And look, for mine, that was a bit of a blight on the competition. That penalty given, look, honestly, I've seen more. It may have flicked a heel, and we watched it 30 times. We were at, as I said, we were at the Queen's Head out the back, and let's just say we might be on 7-second delay and that for the language out the back.
Yep.
Where one guy said, that's it, I'll never watch another game of soccer. And I'm going, hang on, as far as I'm concerned, the Swedish girl dived, you know. Mm-hmm. Oh, I said I thought it was Kane Corns reincarnated the way she dived.
It's interesting. Different sports have different things. I actually saw a little bit of a meme on Facebook the other day about somebody taking a throw in, and they ended up running half the length of the field to actually throw the ball in that was down near the corner, which was a bit funny. But you're right, diving, VAR, throw-ins. It's a very interesting sport, and a bit like the AFL, they've got some tidying up to do, but they're getting better at it. So we'll see how we go. Australia didn't quite get third, which they were really desperately hoping for, but you could sort of see that the spark had gone from the Matildas once they lost to England in that semi-final match.
Yeah, and look, that semi-final just a fine line. Kirk could have equalised in the 80-odd minute, and who knows what could have happened. So, certainly, it was the old fine line between pleasure and pain. Absolutely. It was close. And, the third place, it was disappointing. But in terms of winning the audience over, it was unique. The crowds, they're all saying ratings, not only here but worldwide. It's easily the most successful ever World Cup female-wise and that. So, look, hats off to Australia. in terms of everything in that regard.
Absolutely. And then we move on to the final, England v Spain, and entertaining game, back and forth, but Spain ended up taking the chocolates on this occasion.
Yeah, no, just too good.
Shots at goal was very interesting. Australia sitting second or third on the table with around about 95, 96 odd shots. Spain taking 155 shots at goal throughout the tournament. Really does put them in a class of their own in giving themselves the best opportunity to win. And that's the name of the game, isn't it?
Yeah. Great result in terms of for them. And, yeah, obviously the way Piers and Morgan had carried on, I reckon a lot of us weren't exactly shattered that England didn't get up either.
I don't think that guy will be getting into Australia anytime soon. All right, mate, we're going to take a very, very quick break once again, and we're going to come back. We're going to whiz through the basketball, the tennis, and some cricket news.
Yep.
You're listening to the Game On Podcast. We'll be right back after this short break.
All right, mate, we move on to the basketball. The Boomers at the moment playing in some World Cup qualifiers. Only lost one game in the last 10 or 12 games, and that was against Iran on a forfeit because of travel concerns, which was very weird. But they're actually building their way up for the World Cup here and doing it in fine form at the moment.
They're doing what they have to do. Just qualify, do the job, and hopefully just get through and qualify and do well, and hopefully, Paddy Mills and all that, the guns are back playing then, and we have a crack at it.
Some valuable game time to some lesser-known names, which is exactly, I think it's going to put Australia in a pretty good position. They won the FIBA Asian Cup 75-73 against Lebanon, which was a very, very good result. And then their few qualifiers that they've had over the last few weeks. They've got next couple of matches coming up against Finland, Germany and Japan, probably putting the final touches on their World Cup preparations. Yep. All right, we move on. Two young Australians making it inside the world top 50 for the first time in their career of Alexi Popyrin and Purcell.
Yeah, it's encouraging for the future. It's probably the best way to phrase it, that hopefully a couple more arriving and, so...
Max Purcell and Alexi Popyrin have been on the tour now a few years. They're just starting to put a few things together.
Bit more consistency.
Yes. We obviously talk about Kyrgios. We've talked about, obviously, Tomic previously. We've talked, obviously, Diminar last week. Australia's tennis is just starting to go through a little bit of a revival, and now that some of these big names are starting to step away from the game a little bit, we're looking for that next player to jump on. These guys are still young enough to play some very, very good tennis, and they're just sneaking inside the top 50 for the first time in their career.
Yeah, and hopefully just continue to build.
Mark Philippoussis is back with Stefanos Tsitsipas just after a couple of months.
Yeah, interesting.
Parted with his pupil at the end of the Australian Open. There was a little bit of a backstory to that. He actually did a voiceover for a betting company, which was then pulled up by the ITF, the International Tennis Federation. Governing body sort of said, hey, hang on, we don't really want players, coaches, administrators involved in the betting side of things. They found that obviously there was nothing going on. He just was basically voicing over and was obviously allowed to return after, I think, around about $100,000 in fine. So bit of a slap on the wrist, but back with his man, his fellow Greek, Stefanos Tsitsipas.
Yeah, okay. No, apologies. Didn't realise that. So,
absolutely. Good player, Philippoussis. I did a little bit of research. He ran into Sampras quite a bit. It's a bit like Hewitt. And you look at some of their career stats and you look at some of the finals that they lost, or on the way to the final, they lost against either Sampras or a Nadal or a Federer or Agassi. You know what I mean? So, and Philippoussis was in that boat. And I think the one that stands out for me is probably the game where Sampras lost his coach to cancer down here in the Australian Open, and Philippoussis played him that night, and Sampras was in tears, and that's probably the one big one that stands out for me, apart from his Wimbledon final.
He was around the mark a couple of times.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And cricket, mate, South Australia currently up in Darwin for a bit of pre-season. I'll let you take the microphone on this one. You gave me the heads up on this one a day or two ago.
Yeah, well, we're hoping to have Ryan Harris and that, but definitely have Ryan on a different week. He's up in Darwin. There was a meeting tonight and that, so it sort of clashed. Look, they're buoyant, the Redbacks a bit. I think we've got a bit more bowling depth overall. Batting, it'll be interesting to see what happens there. It's still the question mark. You need Henry Hunt to have a big year and be more consistent.
Will we see Travis Head and Carey for any parts of it?
Will be some. You just got to wait and see on that one. Drew's obviously important. McSweeney came, McAndrew and McSweeney. McSweeney looked good with the bat. Always awesome to catch up with his grandpa, who comes down pretty regularly from Queensland for his games. So yeah, there's hope as a Redback, which probably you can't have said that every year for the past few that we already knew beforehand. Where I do think this side's a chance.
All right, well, we'll keep a bit of an eye on that one. Just to finish off on cricket news, Usman Khawaja locked away a commentator's role when his time is finished in Test cricket.
I think it'd be great. He's eloquent. He thinks. Doesn't speak verbal diarrhea like a few of them. I think it'll be great.
Are we concerned a little bit that he's already thinking this way, or is this just him setting himself up for the future? And I've always seen him as pretty level-headed. So
yeah, I think he's just being smart.
Yep, absolutely. Well, we wish him the best of luck on the field, and hopefully we don't see him off the field too soon.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
All right, mate, we're going to take a very quick break. We're going to come back with our Past Players, Past Legends segment, and tonight we have Chris Prime.
Go the tractor.
Liking this podcast? Please like, rate, and subscribe. Past players, past legends, past legends.
So tonight we are absolutely privileged to have on legendary, and I don't use that word lightly, goal-kicking phenomenon in Chris Tractor Prime. Of course, he cut a splendid figure in that Lycra Guernsey in his time at the parade. We will get to that, obviously. But if we actually read out all his goal-kicking achievements, Pete, we'd be here to about next Thursday.
You were here at 9 a.m. this morning and started reading it. We're still reading it now.
Just a casual, before the start of, after 2021, Tractor a casual 2,060 goals in the country in footy. It is a monumental achievement, and Tractor, we will go through some of that during it, but welcome aboard, mate.
No worries. Thanks, Malcolm. And Pete, thanks for having me.
Thanks for jumping on, mate. Like we do with most of our guests, we like to sort of delve into your juniors and then work our way up and how you got to Norwood and some of your exploits there. But where did you start your juniors, mate?
Oh, look, I started my junior footy in, God, it would have been 7 or 8 at Port Neal. I think I played under 12s for a couple of years before I touched the ball, as I think most kids do at that age. And played all my junior footy at Port Neal before heading to school at Westminster for 3 years.
Okay, I didn't realise. So, Westminster, what years were they school-wise there, Tractor?
I would have finished in 87, so 85, 86, 87.
But yeah, what year school-wise?
Oh, that was 10, 11, 12.
10, 11, right. Yep.
Yeah, and so, yeah, one of our teachers there was David Tiller, who was, I think, captain of North Adelaide.
Tills is still at Westminster, mate.
Yes, yep. My son's just finished Westminster last year, so Tills was still there, and it was good to catch up with him. So, so he was there, and Kim Harris, who
Yes.
was our first 18 coach while I was there, so he taught me a few little tricks as I travelled through.
State cricketer.
So obviously with your juniors out in the country there and then moving to Westminster, did you always have a bit of an appetite for goal kicking?
Oh, look, I did. Pretty much from a young age. Look, I played forward. I wasn't overly big as a kid. I sort of played forward pocket, rove sort of thing, as most younger ones do. Like, you know, you get on the sides, and the bigger kids in the age groups plays down the spine. I guess my first memory of goal kicking was, I think it was 81. We hadn't kicked a goal against the opposition mini side for the whole year. But we won the grand final. But the ball was in the air when the siren went, and then went through the goals. And that's my distinct memory of, like, the first really important goal you kick is when you snap and it's in the air, and
it's a fair memory, that Tractor.
And you win a grand final by 2 points.
Oh, everyone loves the sausage roll.
How old were you then, Tractor?
I reckon I was 10 or 11.
So don't worry, you still got on the West Ends, mate? Yeah.
No, I jumped in the car with Mum and Dad, who don't drink and never have, and headed to Western Australia straight after that.
Okay. So from there, let's go through some of. So, in terms of footy wise, you build up to ending up at Norwood. Obviously, let's go through though. 89, you've kicked 118 goals for Ports. And then in 91, 125 goals for Tasmans.
Yep. So I played my first senior game at Port Neale in 86. So Port Neale was by itself. We won 3 premierships. Well, they won 84, was I only 13. 86, 87, and 88, which I played in with my 2 brothers.
Yep.
And then Port Neale amalgamated with Arno Bay to form Ports.
Oh, right, okay. Yep.
So Ports was the amalgamated club, and that was our first year, and we lost the grand final to Kimber.
Okay.
So I kicked 118 as a 18-year-old, I think I was. It was the first time I'd actually got to play full forward because my oldest brother Peter had actually been playing full forward for Port Neale at that stage.
And a great thank you to Peter Lyons for his book on country goal kickers, which I have in front of me. And by pure fluke, the first page I turned to today, looking for you, I came across Richard Horgan's name and gave Horgs a ring. So, and then he said, he'd play. He was involved with you at Tumby's as well. So the old small Adelaide and small footy world was in vogue there, mate.
What was your biggest haul in that 118 in any one game?
Off the top of my head, that was a long time ago. I'm lucky to remember what I did. I reckon it was about an 11 or 12.
Correct, 11 against Ports. So well done there, Tractor. You've passed that one. And then, in terms of then arriving from country footy, you decided to have a crack at Norwood. Not as a youngster, you'd already played a fair bit of senior footy and that. What got you to the parade?
Look, we played an EP game at Crystal Brook. I think I kicked 5 or 6, and Port Adelaide approached me straight after the game to see if I wanted to come down next week to train or play. North Adelaide approached me, and Norwood asked me out we'd like to come out and do 2 weeks pre-season.
Yep.
And my saving grace was I was 21, and I guess smart enough in the world to know I wasn't fit enough to play the next week.
Yep.
At Reggie's level, there's no guarantees, and I thought 2 weeks, come out and train for 2 weeks and see how it goes, was like, on-the-job training really for me.
Yep. I think there's a pretty mature answer in that regard, Tractor, and of course you arrived at Norwood 93, and let's also being honest, you've been coached by a fitness fanatic in Neil Craig, so that would have been probably a bit of an eye-opener and a shock to the system. Yeah. So
look, it was, and like I came over thinking I was pretty fit, but no, that just wasn't it wasn't generally in my makeup to be that way. So yeah, look, we pushed through, and yeah, I was lucky enough to get a run in that first game.
So we're going to talk about your nickname, mate, the Tractor. I mean, obviously, I've got an idea, but let the listeners in to know how you became the Tractor, or the nickname Tractor came about.
When I went down to Lincoln, I think the bloke, Twiggy Cordwell coached us the second year.
Yep.
We were training. I don't know why we started training in December, but we were down there doing beach runs or run along the foreshore, and he said, "Oh, you're pretty slow to get going. You're hard to stop, and we'll just call you. And you're from a farm. We'll call you Tractor." And it was just one of those names that's pretty well stuck. I know when I got to Norwood, because I was towards the end of the run, everyone asked what your name was. Well, when you're right at the end of the run, people actually remember who you are.
Yeah,
true. So, it was a real ploy that I'd employed at that stage, just to be unfit to try and get guys to remember who I was.
And then, so was it also your mum may have a bit of wise words at your beginning at your time at the parade too, mate?
Yeah, she did. I guess it was, we had the bye the first week, and Sturt played Centrals at Elizabeth. And Craigie, in his wisdom, picked his top 30 to go and watch the game at Elizabeth.
That's
and I
right,
wasn't in that.
Too. Yeah.
And I wasn't in that top 30, and that sort of, I don't know. I've never been good at being second. I'm a fairly competitive beast, and look, I was probably third in line then, and yeah, I rang Mum and said, "Look, I've had enough of this. I wasn't working. And I was just sick of Adelaide." And he said, "I'll just play a couple of games of footy, get the footy started, and see how things go." And I think that week, Anthony Pieri and Mark Ducker both broke down.
Yes. Yep. And
leading on the Thursday night, I reckon Craigie spoke to me as I was going out to training and said, "You'll be starting this week," which was nice. Mum and Dad, I think, were still over here because they were probably still involved with football over here. So yeah, look, played my first game 10th of April. 93, which happened to be my middle brother's.
Well played, Tractor. Birthday. Very impressive. Yep. I do have that in front of me birthday. As well. Well played.
So, yeah.
And kicked the casual 7 on debut.
Kicked 7, yeah. First one, and I told the under-15 boys this when they were over there this year playing at the parade.
When I caught up with you, yep.
Sitting in the goal square, leading out Craig Balme, kicking it out in the middle and taking a mark in front of Cooper's Hill. Now, as a Norwood supporter or a Norwood footballer taking a mark in front of a packed Cooper's Hill, I don't reckon there could have been anything better.
Yeah, that's a good call, actually.
So, and that's when we were getting good numbers, good football numbers there to the crowd, and you'd have 4,000 or 5,000 people or 3,000 people, and it felt like a big crowd when you're playing in front of those, because you're right there. Their voices are right there. So, it was very memorable. I think I played the next week and then got dropped for a week. So, yeah, you live and learn.
7 on debut, played the following week and then dropped the week after. That's unreal.
Craigie was a hard taskmaster. Gosh,
I only got dropped for 1 week, I reckon. I think I played all but one game for the year.
You would have been pretty keen for Anthony Pieri to be in the same side as you with that Lycra Guernsey, because that did make you look like a smooth machine, mate.
Yeah, it was something like that anyway. Plugger and I did play a few together.
Yep.
Not so much in 93. I reckon 94 we did.
Yep.
But yeah, and even maybe into 95. But yeah, there's Mark Ducker and I formed a pretty good partnership in 93, and then, and then obviously we split that up because I reckon Ducks had left in 94. So it was finding that rhythm or the person you can work with, and you're not always in the same spot, which is quite hard at times in the forward lines because you all want the ball and you're generally going to the same spot. So it was good to have that cohesion with Mark Ducker. Like, we weren't in each other's space all the time.
Now, I'm going to ask you one question with that. Now, we asked this same question to Brett James. Now, Brett James was a fitness fanatic, and whatever would be for you in that regard. But on the Thursday night before the grand final in '93 at Norwood is the only time I've ever, as a spectator watching, started going, for goodness sake, get them off the track. Can you remember that, just how ridiculously hard we trained in grand final week?
I can't, only because by that stage of the year, I was only training for about half an hour on a Thursday night to make sure I could still move. I'd done my conjoint tendon through my groin, and so from about the last third of the year, I would play on Saturday, not walk very well Sunday, and just work in the gym Monday, Wednesday, whatever nights, Monday and Tuesday, and then just do half an hour on a Thursday to make sure I was right. So, yeah, look, I know the boys might have been out there, but I couldn't comment because I wasn't.
And the highlight of that year, did you find as well the prelim final against Port was a great game? It was a great game as well. Okay, we finished on the right side and won it running away really, but that was a fantastic game. And did you think that was virtually the highlight of the year as well?
Yeah, look, I think we played. There was about 25 or 25,500 people in Footy Park, and it felt full. We normally played out there, and it felt like there was no one in it.
Yeah.
And that was a noisier game and more atmosphere than the grand final the week after.
Yeah, because unfortunately the grand final we weren't exactly overly competitive. I will say, I was happy for Simon Neve because I thought Neve still should have been. I thought he should have got more opportunities at Norwood, and also happy for Bruce as coach. But yeah, it certainly wasn't a great day. And I will say, I'll be honest that Pete, I reckon we were in the bar by about the 15-minute mark.
I was sitting at the northern end, so I can certainly attest to feeling disappointed early on. That's for sure, mate.
Yes.
You obviously 93. You start against Sturt at Norwood, and you finish the year in a grand final. I mean, that's stuff that you dream of as a kid. Is that something that you know?
Oh, yeah, it is. Like, it would have been nice to play in a winning grand final, but yeah, just that whole feeling, even the lead up for the week, and someone gave me some photos the other day, and it was of us getting presented in Rundle Mall the day before. They presented all the players as they walk across the bridge across the middle that's no longer there.
Yep.
And you think, how much footy's changed, like, all this stuff going on now just doesn't happen. But, yeah, mess happens, but they demand more.
Yes.
I think we demand more of our footballers now than what we did back then.
And 87 majors for the year in 93. Is there a couple that stand out, or a couple of performances, a couple of weeks that stand out where you got a nice bag?
I think 7 was my highest tally. I think I kicked a 7 against South Adelaide as well, when I think Plugger had kicked 13 in the twos, which put a bit of pressure on, and I kicked 7 in the ones. But yeah, look, I guess I played my role. Like, I'd sort of kick my 4 or 5 or 3, but I quite often I'd kick 3 or 4 in a quarter, and then I'd be shut down, but I'd be bringing the ball to the front. You'd have Pato and Rowie.
Pato had a good year from you bringing the ball to the front.
So
no doubt about
that was like Sam Smart played centre half forward and didn't have a heap of the ball, but his job was to compete, bring it to ground. My job at full forward was present, bring it to ground, and have Stephen Pitt, Stephen Rowe, and all the Stephens, Patterson come onto it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, a huge feather in your cap where you got, and it was something, the leadership positions was something Craigie took very, very seriously, and vice captain the following year, mate.
Yeah, look, and that probably was a bit of a shock. I don't know if I was mature enough, I was old enough, And I was probably might have been a wiser head a bit later on, but we weren't really an old side.
No, that's true. Yeah.
And I learned a lot from that year, like just sitting in on selection and things like that. So it was an experience being at that level and then turning around, and it's probably aided me later on in my footy when I've gone into leadership positions or coaching positions. So
quite a reasonable year again, 53 goals.
But I basically carried from the year before, the injury I had was I had the right side operated on. I needed the left side operated on, but I wouldn't do both at the same time.
Oh, okay.
So I played 94 basically on one leg.
So,
wow.
It's pretty frustrating in terms of your time at Norwood with it, therefore, in that regard. So,
but like to me, once you walked on the footy field,
yep,
it didn't matter.
Yeah, you crossed the white line, exactly.
I see guys come off the footy field now and they say, "Oh no, I'm done." I said, "How do you know you're done?" And they said, "Well, it's sore." I said, "You don't know it's sore until you actually get back on the oval, and then you know because your adrenaline kicks in and you just keep going." Like, and not everyone's built the same, but that's how we are generally built. Like we go, it doesn't matter. You just keep playing until the siren goes.
So next year, 95, your final game was the prelim final loss to Centrals. Why did you decide to give it away after the 3 years, Tractor, at league level?
Well, if you had a video hook up here, I'd be able to show you. I'm actually sitting in the house on the farm that came up next door to our main farm. So I reckon with about 6 weeks to go in the season, brother had a chat to me and said, "Look, the farm next door is coming up."
Right.
And I said, "Well, he said, you've had 3 years of fun. Got to come home and do some work." And once again, I was wise enough to understand that, I was going to work for the rest of my life.
Yep.
I wasn't going to play footy for the rest. So, I made that call. We talked, when Peter Rose was on, talked for a while about whether I'd travel back, but that wasn't going to work for me.
Yep.
I needed the training. I needed to do that 3 nights a week just to keep up pretty much a basic level of fitness. Because I'm not those, look, the Paddos or the Brett James that can just run.
Yeah.
So look, it was never really an option to travel back, and I just settled back here.
Mate, you've packed in a lot of things that have happened within the couple of years you're at Norwood. You arrive, you debut, you play in a grand final, you kick 87 goals, you then back it up the following year with 53 goals and a prelim loss to Centrals on one leg, now that you're telling us this. Mate, that's one of the best stories that I've heard in SANFL football for a very short period of time of somebody being in the game.
Yeah, look, I don't know if it's I think we've all got stories.
Yes.
I think you run into people and you talk to people that play footy. Everyone's got a story, like, and they've all got different little bits, and because not everyone doesn't know what someone else is challenged by. So it's one of those things, and it's not till you sit down with them and have a bit of a chat, you go, actually, you face challenges I didn't even know about.
Exactly.
So I think we've all got them through life, and football's no different.
That's one thing I've found with interviewing people, and that it's a great reminder that just because a person's better at sport, that it doesn't mean that people don't go through tragedies, etc. And obviously at Norwood, that's really close to our hearts at the moment. And Ross Dillon's father dying when he was 16 on Christmas Day, going to fix a drill and electrocuting himself. Bruce Winter's mum died when he was 2. She cut herself in Port Moresby and died of septicemia. So, exactly. Yep. Anything and everything. Now, once you've decided to go back home and you've gone gone back to your club, to Ports, and you're there for the next 11 years and, sort of some success and all that. But knowing you, Tractor, it would have been a massive decision to decide to change to Tumby Bay. But going to Tumby Bay and, again, not as a kid, it was in 2007, but your career almost exploded from when you went to Tumby Bay, mate.
Look, I did. My 11 years at Ports, I loved it. I just was frustrated. I think we were probably had 3 or 4 top-line players and then sort of dropped away. And we just couldn't keep up with sides. And without the 6-6-6 rule, we got a little bit beaten up at times.
Yeah.
And my coach at the time was Trevor Grenfell.
Yep.
Buff.
Yeah, North Adelaide.
He said, if you want to enjoy your football, go somewhere else.
That's a pretty mature comment, actually.
And I was 36. I think I was captain of the side at the time. And, so I made the decision. I went and talked to a couple of clubs, talked to Tasmans where I played in 90 and 91, talked to Tumby and ended up going to Tumby. And one of the local papers, about a month out from the footy, they put a bit of a report in there about what the clubs are doing. And I knew this bloke, and he said, at 36, this fella probably find it hard against these young guys running around. And that sort of, that was like, a red rag to a bull for me. So it's probably the fittest I'd been since I left Norwood when I played that first year at Tumby.
And just a casual 150 goals.
Ouch.
10 plus on 8 occasions. And righto, come on, Tractor, what was the highest total you kicked in that year?
Oh, God. I reckon I kicked in 18 that year.
Well played, 18 against Cummins Kapini, and also winning the male medal, mate. Yeah,
look, I knew I was a chance when I kicked 6 in the first game and got 6 votes. So it was one of those years, things just, we had a good side and the ball came in a lot.
Yep.
But I had a purple patch in the middle. Richard Horgan was our coach.
Yes.
And I must have read a Malcolm Blight book early on. And he always said about tying your shoelace on the inside of your...
Yeah. Oh, red hot on that, Blighty, yes. Yep.
On the inside of your boot.
Yep.
So the ball's not hitting a knot and you can kick better. Well, I reckon I kicked 9 goals, 7 this day on something. And Horgs has said to me, why do you tie your shoelace on the inside of your boot? And I said, to help me kick straight. He said, it's not working, tie it on the outside. I think I kicked 100 in the next 9 games.
So
and
much
I think it was about 100 goal, 12.
Yes,
and
I'm surprised Horgs didn't
I tied my
claim that to me
shoelace
today.
on the outside.
Wow.
So much for Blighty's theory.
Yeah, so football's fair bit between the ears.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so a couple of male medals involved there, mate, too.
Still no club best and fairest there, though.
What's that?
Couldn't quite get the best and fairest in Tumby, so
you won two male medals, but no B and F.
And 150 odd goals.
Yeah, 150 goals I thought might have been enough to get you up, Tractor.
No, a runner-up that year.
Okay. Horgs gave himself the vote? So yeah.
Jay Shannon won it that year.
Okay.
Jay Shannon, who
fair
spent a bit of time at North and Port, he won the 2006, I think, on level as a 15, 16-year-old, and was runner-up in 07. So yeah.
So so 131 goals again the next year, Tractor. So and then 102. So a couple of flags there as well, mate.
Yep. Lost the 08 one.
Yep.
That was a game we shouldn't have lost. That was our first loss for the 2 years.
Ouch.
Yes, that was ouch. At Tumby Bay as well.
Oh, ouch, even more.
Yeah, good reminder that
footy is between the years, isn't it?
And anything on the given day, especially GFs. So, another 100 goals the following year. So, there's pretty consistent there for a fair while, Tractor.
Yeah, look, I was. I think I'd kicked 500 in the first 77 games there. So,
were you tested for leather poisoning?
Oh, I don't know. I probably should have retired then.
Nah, keep going, mate. I reckon you're only warming up now, Tractor.
I think I'm getting towards the end. I keep saying that though.
You've said that for a few years, mate. I reckon you're still going okay. So you're still looking in pretty reasonable, Nick. So yeah, 2018's another 100-goal year. So fair effort that your first 100-goal year is 1989, and you followed it up just a mere casual, 29 years later. That's quite ridiculous, really, Tractor.
Yeah, I think the last one was in the twos.
Yeah, still 100 goals.
That was, I think I needed 7 in the last quarter to get it in the minor round. So every ball came to me.
Fair enough too.
Love it. What's some of your best memories of obviously going back and playing local football after being in the city for a couple of years?
Oh, look, it's the people you meet, and it's both sides. Like, some of the guys you stand, you stand them 4 times a year, or there's a bloke just down the road that we stood toe to toe and maybe discuss the finer points of the rivalry between the two clubs, but we'll have a beer every time we see each other.
Exactly.
So like you meet people along the way. I'm trying to think. Last year, my son came home from Adelaide for the weekend. He doesn't play footy very much. I said we were short. I said, well, you got socks and shoes and boots. Well, we'll register this week, and we lost that week, but I played a game with Sam, so that was good. Like,
yeah,
he took a mark in the middle, passed to me, kicked the goal, and I thought, well, that's about as good as it gets.
Yeah, can't argue with that. I reckon that's the perfect wording too, Tractor. Can't get any better than that.
Yeah, like there's things like that happen along the way, or just little things like it might be given a handball to. I know that doesn't happen from full forwards inside 50 very often. To a bloke that's struggling, or just learning, you handball it to them and they kick a goal, and it just lifts them and it lifts the whole side. I don't need to kick goals.
Yeah.
That part of my job's done. Like, but if you can help someone out now, or encourage people, that's sort of what you can do. What
about some Mortlock Shield, highlights there, and who you've played with and against, Tractor?
Well, I can't remember who I played with and against. There'd be a fair chunk of them. Look, they were always great weekends. I don't think we'd be allowed, like, realistically, under SANFL rules, we're probably not allowed to do it now, like, because we played 2 games in, 3 days. Like, we'd get shot down, but we'd play a full game on the Saturday and, party pretty hard Saturday night, and sometimes again Sunday, and then front up and play again Monday. So, like, and you played against the best of every league. So I remember one day there I was standing Jeff Phelps, and
yep.
I was maybe a little bit under the weather from my Sunday, and it's just hard work. Like, you really test yourself out. So it's one of those things. It's every level you go up, you just find those people that. We find more people that are at the same level as you or better than you, so you challenge yourself.
Jeff Phelps, good left arm opening bowler too. He got me out a couple of times, unfortunately. So again, the old small sporting world as we keep going in that regard. But it's any real memorable wins in Mortlock Shield that you really treasure?
Actually, the one I treasure the most is probably not so much on the football side. It's the best story that gets told though.
Yeah.
I think we play. I'll tell you the year if I can remember it. We played on the Saturday. I kicked 9-goal one on the Saturday, and as I said, we all went pretty hard at it on Saturday night. And my old footy club, Tasman's down there, used to have a drink sprint on Sunday, and they would give you a schooner glass as you walked in. and it was free beer for an hour and a half.
Oh, wow.
So this is 10 o'clock on a Sunday morning. This is recovery. And I had 22 schooners in an hour and a half.
Fair effort, Tractor.
I was in bed by about 4 o'clock, and we had the 3 o'clock game on the Monday. And that's the day I stood Phelpsy.
Yep.
So I kicked 1 goal, 9.
Might have seen a few different goalposts. Might have been the problem Tractor.
We lost that day by, it's probably 7 points or something like that, and hence lost the Mortlock Shield. So that would have been, I would have thought that might have been 90, 91. That might have been 92, I reckon, my first year back at Eastern Air. So, yeah, that's the story gets told the most. I missed out on the goal kicking award by 1 goal, and I reckon we lost the Mortlock Shield by 1 goal, 3. So,
but you won the drinking award. So yeah,
I did win the drinking award. Yeah.
Bit of yin and yang about that, isn't there?
Yeah, I'm not surprised that you got up in that one, Tractor. I admit that. I reckon I'd struggle to even go waters with you. So yeah. Yeah,
I've slowed down. I reckon I had a bit of a corky that day too, kicking at goals. Once you get the yips, you're stuffed. So I had the yips bad. So.
Mate, we go back to we'll go back to the SANFL like we do with most of our guests. We like to sort of probe you a little bit in who were some of the best players you played against and went head-to-head with and enjoyed playing against in the SANFL, that is.
Oh, look, Roger Delaney, probably one of the toughest fullbacks I've stood. Just his ability to read the ball, his strength. He was just hard work, like all the time.
And he'd run off and attack.
Oh,
yeah.
And could hit a target.
Yeah.
I reckon 95, I stood Poole North East a couple of times.
Okay.
And, once again, you'd want to bag him all the time about the way he kicked the footy.
Yeah, but he did miss a target.
No, he was just really good. And I actually ran into him a few weeks ago, and he had a bit of it. I said something about his kick, and he said, "Well, how many premiership medallions have you got, Primey?"
Yeah, hard to compete it with that line.
No, and once again, he good bloke. Obviously, different ends of the planet being Port and Norwood, but you talk to them now, and you have that understanding of what they were doing, and we were just all trying to beat them, and we couldn't. So, look, there's those sort of guys you play against. But I'm trying to think. That's a long time ago. Jason Spear from the Eagles always was one of those ones that was pretty much all over you. And it's just a lot of. There's some guys you get the best of one week, and the next week you can't get a kick on them. So the other two I probably battled with the hardest. They were the most consistent ones. Them and Chris Threadgold from Sturt. That you knew that's who you were going to stand when you played them. So the others swapped around a bit.
And of course, playing with you played with two of the all-time SANFL greats, mate.
For Norwood?
Yes.
Oh, yes, well, yeah, you couldn't go past Gary McIntosh. And that was, you felt privileged running on the oval with him at times. If he said do something, you just did it. And I guess I was fortunate enough that...
No, you didn't play with Aishi. Yep, sorry. Yep.
Although Aishi, it says in Aishi's bio that he retired in 92.
Yeah.
He actually played a couple of games in 93.
Yeah, just at the start. Yeah, that's right.
I remember we played at the parade against Glenelg, and he came out onto the ground, and you could sort of feel the Glenelg supporters and players just drop. It was just unbelievable. He started in a forward pocket, kicked a couple, I reckon. And, yeah, he's just, even at whatever he was then at the end of his career, he was still just had that touch.
Yeah, aura as well.
Yeah, so look, I was fortunate, and then you throw in like Brett James. Well, I think you got your three highest games players there, just about.
With
Keith
KT.
Thomas, Keith Thomas just walked out the door as I arrived, pretty much. He did all the pre-season.
Yeah, it was that day to Elizabeth. It was, he decided that day at Elizabeth that was it. Yeah. At the start where you didn't make that squad of 30. So, yeah, I actually thought of that as you said it. I was thinking of KT. So, yeah, touch of irony there, mate.
Yeah, look, so I was pretty lucky to meet those blokes and play footy with them or train with them. Like to Tommy Warhurst, who was, once again, did all pre-season or did a fair chunk of pre-season. So you get to meet them and, you get your foot in the door when you see them now, and you think, well, yeah, look, guys I was a Sturt supporter growing up, so the guys that you sort of look at and you idolise, and then you start meeting them because you're playing footy against them or with them, and you're sort of sometimes a little bit in awe of them because you go, oh wow, it was only 12 months ago or 2 years ago I was watching you on TV thinking, God, how cool is that? And next thing you know, you're there with them.
Mate, we'll get you out here on this one. What are you up to these days?
Well, at the moment, I'm running helping running a farm with my oldest brother and two nephews. Run a sheep stud. So we've got our ram sale coming up next Tuesday, the 29th, if anyone's looking for a good Palmerino ram. I was just throwing a plug in. And
go for it, mate. Go for it.
and then, I have I did retire at the end of last year, football-wise, but did fall off the wagon. I played 5 games so far this year for Ports.
That doesn't surprise. And, yeah, fascinating, your current situation with Ports and Tumby, mate. Being made a life member and playing back at Port. So, yeah, you've sort of completed the full journey, mate. Look,
I have, and that's where it started. Like, Port Neal had just done up their complex earlier this year, and my nephew Caleb come over and said, oh, look, we left a couple out of the B grade. I said, oh, that's good. And I might have snuck in and had a couple of quiet beers on the Friday, and I messaged the B grade coach and said, disappointed I didn't get a game. And that was at 7:30. By 7:45, I had a clearance and was registered and fronted up the next day.
I'm not surprised that Caleb did that either.
So, love country footy. I love it.
So, look, and it's a nice feeling to go back home. Like, that's where I started my footy. But yeah, still heavily involved in Tumby, like with the club rooms and managing the bar, and so like it's one of those things. It was an opportunity. Tumby had plenty of numbers. I wasn't going to play, and it just sort of happened by accident.
No, great to hear, and look forward to catching up with you and Caleb too at some stage as well. Tractor, greatly appreciated to come on board. Congratulations on an incredible career, and look forward to catching up again, mate.
No worries. Thanks, Malcolm.
Keep kicking those sausage rolls, mate.
I will try.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks, Tractor.
Cheers.
We thank Tractor for his time tonight. What a career. I mean, I made mention of it, obviously, when we were talking with Chris at the time, that, 2 years at the SANFL level. 3 years at the SANFL level. 2 leading goal kickers, kicks 87 in his first year, kicks 54 in his second year, basically on one leg. Goes back to the country. He's already had a glorious career before he arrived at the SANFL, and then a glorious career after, which is still basically going.
And it snowballed again. It virtually reincarnated at the age of 36, where he swapped over to Tumby Bay and kicks 150 goals in his first year there as a 36-year-old. The all-time leading goal kicker in country footy with a 2,060 odd goals. Yeah, it's an incredible career, and yeah, great to have the tractor on board tonight.
Absolutely. He made a couple of very good points that everybody has a story, and this is why we run this part of the show, is that we get to hear these stories and we get to find out things that we didn't know.
Bit of a deep thinker too, Tractor.
Absolutely. All right, we thank Tractor for his time.
Liking this podcast? Please like, rate, and subscribe. Happy days.
Kick us off today. Happy birthday, Jacob Surgeon. Drafted to Port Adelaide in 2003, originally from South Coogee. Surgeon made his AFL debut in round 1, 2004 against Essendon. Went on to play 5 of the first 7 games before a knee injury tragically cut his year short.
Yeah, and a real good bloke too, Serge. I'll be honest, with the passing of Choco, his daughters, Suzanne and Robin, rang me. Said, right, you got to come out and see us at Prospect tonight. It was after, on the Sunday, Norwood had played Centrals and North had played Glenelg. So drive out to Prospect to catch up. And as I'm driving there, I'm thinking, I reckon it's their 2018 Premiership reunion tonight.
Yes.
So I walk in. Obviously, I'm the only person in Norwood gear. And look, Jacob Surgeon and Josh Carr were really good. They kept playing it up because I said, I'm not watching that crap, turn my head. And, hey, Malcom, Boyd Woodcock's about to kick a goal. Yep. And then I'm going, no, put last year's grand final up, put the Kings goal. And I get on well with Cameron Craig. I've coached him in cricket. And Craig, he's going, piss off, Malcom. I never want to see that goal again in my life. So it was really good banter, and Serge was good with his part that night.
Absolutely. Steadily built his career in Port's to his losing grand final in 2007 with a career high games played in that season. The highlight obviously would have been named vice-captain in 2010 after that.
Look, the big thing where I really respect Jacob Surgeon is all you want is a person to get the best out of themselves, and he did that. He left. He didn't leave anything out on the track. He every blood, sweat and tear, and he got the best out of himself.
Absolutely.
Now he's coaching North.
And that led me to my next point. Unfortunately, he was delisted in 2012. Tough, strong tackling machine. Moved to defence to lock down on a defender if he needed. But obviously through that midfield, very, very good. And like you said, he definitely looked like he left nothing out there. He then goes on to be an assistant coach at Port Adelaide there for a little while before taking up the role at North Adelaide and has really gone from strength to strength.
No, he's pretty well respected around the traps.
Absolutely.
Serge.
And hopefully North Adelaide make the finals this year for him. Yeah. Happy birthday to Jacob Surgeon this week. This week in 1995, cricket, Brian Lara completes his 7th Test century, scoring 179 at the Oval in London.
He was as good to watch as anyone, Brian Lara, when he was going.
Very
beautiful,
smooth.
Yeah, smooth. Superb timer, wristy. Yeah, great player. One of the greats.
Absolutely. I can't disagree with you there. Again, the Mount Rushmore of cricket players. He's definitely well and truly up there for sure. And provides some very good commentary as well, which is very, very good. All right, this week in 2000 rugby, Australia clinches the Tri-Nation Rugby Series with a 1918 win over South Africa in Durban. Wallabies centre Sterling Mortlock lands 4 penalties and a conversion.
He certainly delivered in the crunch situation that night in terms of just purely scoring-wise looking at that. So, yeah.
Been a while since the Wallabies have had some success, so they're due again. Who knows what's coming up in the near future?
Yes, definitely.
All right, mate, we move back to cricket 1995. Cricket, Gloucestershire cricketer Andrew Simons scores 254 against Glenmorgan, including then the first-class record of 16 sixes.
When he went in his prime, he was pretty incredible. I was there. I worked that Test match at the G where he scored his initial Test 100, batting with Matty Hayden when we were in trouble, and those two got us back and then absolutely carted England after a while. And fielding wise, he was worth it just to watch anyway.
Yep.
So yeah.
Absolutely, one of the all-time greats. And entertaining, you're right. Rest in peace, for sure. And to finish us off, mate, no surprise, 1996, golf, the 96th US Amateur Champion won by...
The great man,
Tiger Woods.
Yes, yep, can't...
Did it in the amateurs, did it in the professionals. Yep. Unbelievable, again...
And apologies, I forgot to Google it. I will do it this week, the 53 Ashes series. So
yes.
I will do that.
I'll follow you up on that one next week.
I did forget, so I will do that this week.
All right, mate, let's go into the extra time big finish.
Yep. Extra time big finish.
All right, mate, we had such fun with the mailbag last week that we had a few more questions come in this week. So we thought we'd add them to the run sheet. And Ben from Victor Harbour, who do you think will be the grand finalists now that the 8 has basically been set? Obviously in the AFL, that is.
I still think it's really open. But look, I'll go the safe option, Collingwood, Brisbane. But I really give Port and I give Carlton a huge chance. So yeah, toss the coin, which I reckon is great. Mm-hmm. We should a couple other things that happened last weekend and all that. I think there's been enough about that. Look, I'll go the safe option, Collingwood, Brisbane.
Okay.
But
I'm going to go Melbourne, Brisbane.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the two for me. I mean, it kills me to say that as a Carlton man, but I just think that there's a couple of teams that are just probably going to get them at the right time. So anyway,
I still give Port a big chance too.
Absolutely. Thank you to Ben from Victor Harbour. Adam from Glenelg. With Glenelg losing on the weekend, does this hurt their chances for the premiership?
Very easy question, that one. No.
No, I agree. No. Thanks, Adam. It was a bit of an obvious one, but we thought we'd add it to the run sheet.
I just think this time it's a wake-up call. I reckon the coach would have walked away inside smiling, you beauty. I've got a bit more to work with and a bit, just on a roll. They've got the minor premiership sewing up. Get a bit ahead of themselves. We've all seen clubs and players do it. It's a natural thought process. No drama at all.
Sort of follows a little bit what we talked about with Timmy G, in that sometimes that loss just before the finals freshen them up a little bit and will get them going again. And they have been the form team of the SANFL at the moment. I think really there's only one team that stands out that if they get players back could cause a little bit of an upset, and that's probably the Crows. Thank you to Adam from Glenelg.
That won't happen though, because there's a restriction how many can play and all that. So
they'll get a few back, but they won't get as many.
I've still got money on Glenelg.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you to Adam from Glenelg on that one. Emma from Stansbury. Beautiful spot, Stansbury. Yes. What are the AFL thinking playing the AFLW showdown in week 1?
Points for and against that in terms of trying to get a bit of impetus to it. Look, I've gone on about this. I think they're changing their seasons has proven to be a disastrous call.
Yep.
And footy finishes, that should be it. You don't leave the main movie and then shove the B grade on afterwards. I just think it's insane what they've done. I've got no problem with that, trying to get a bit of impetus, but I just think it was done what they've done with the seasons.
Yep, absolutely. The AFLW is still going through that teething period. Yeah. They've obviously split the teams up into sections, and so they're trying different things. But I've got something that I want to add to the run sheet next week. Almost not the rule book rant, but this might be my rant. That's for sure.
Go for it. It'll be interesting too with that one. Lunch with Neil Baum on Friday, and then I'm driving him from Tanunda to him and Anson from Tanunda back into town. So that will be questioned with Barmy's involvement with Richmond. We'll be interested to get his side of thoughts on
Absolutely.
That as well.
I look forward to hearing about it. Colin from Helensvale up in Queensland. So we're going far and wide here, which is great. Obviously talking soccer, the World Cup. Should Australia bid for the Men's World Cup after the success of the Women's World Cup?
You can argue each way on that. I think the women, in terms of, I reckon Australia in that way that it was a welcome breath of fresh air, that it wasn't the rich prima donnas, there wasn't any historics, and I reckon we got behind them in that way. So maybe, but I think you've got to have way more stadiums for the men's side of things as well.
So you've got to have a stadium that can hold a minimum of 40,000, which we do have the stadiums that can do that. but FIFA are very hot on the rectangular stadium rather than the oval-shaped stadiums that we do have. So, yeah, it is an interesting question, and I'm glad Colin emailed through.
I think it's a great question, but I'd say personally no. If you've got to have that much infrastructure built and what that costs.
Yes.
No, I think it worked perfectly here. Yeah, the games at Highmarsh with sellouts virtually for whoever was playing. I think it just worked brilliantly. Yep. So, no, I'll leave it at that.
Fair call. All right. That's it for the mailbag this week, but keep them coming, guys, because I'm thoroughly enjoying getting some of these questions so we can add them and give us some questions to work through.
Not getting the beeps go off from a couple of those overseas people, etc., Pete. We'll leave it at that.
We will, for sure. All right. Like we do each week, we have a little bit of fun with trade, re-sign and retire. We've got Tom Hawkins, Levi Casbolt or Jesse Hogan.
Oh, it's a hard one this week. I'll go retire Levi Casbolt, trade Tom Hawkins and re-sign Jesse Hogan. Jesse Hogan's in real good touch at the moment. He is at the moment.
So, he seemed to have found himself at GWS there.
It was the perfect week to ask that.
Well, it was.
The week before. How could you say not re-sign Jesse Hogan after last week? So,
absolutely. I'm probably along the lines of trade Jesse Hogan, re-sign Tom Hawkins and retire Levi Casbolt. So we're sort of on the same track there. You're right, Jesse Hogan had a blinder, but it was against Essendon who had a shocker. So anyway, mate, we finish off before we get you out of here on this one. The good, the bad, the ugly from this week.
I think unfortunately it's pretty obvious. Adelaide Oval this week, what happened. Just the poor person could never goal umpire again, really, I don't think. And so I feel sorry for him, but it was a massive cock-up.
Mm-hmm.
Do the right thing. We talk footy's a completely different subject this week.
Mm.
It's got everything about that this week, the good, the bad and the ugly. In terms of the ugly was the supporters' reaction, Stephen Rowe's incredible theatrics and just staggering garbage and,
we won't be having him on the show anytime soon.
No, I just can't get over. Rowe's just out of that.
He's a passionate man. I get his passion, but sometimes you've just got to take a step back and think about it logically, and I think they've done it that way. Yeah, for me, the good, the bad, the ugly, the obvious ones, the bad and the ugly are rolled into one, which was the decision or the non-decision. I think the good this week was probably the success of the World Cup.
Yes, definitely.
Has to be there for me. It's definitely, like you said, the ratings are through the roof.
Oh, unbelievable. The
participation now is up to the state leagues and obviously Soccer Australia to jump on that and make as much out of that as they possibly can, and other sports that are trying to encourage female participation.
You just wonder what the ratings would have been if we'd made the final. Like, jeez, who knows? Well,
public holiday was one thing that everyone wanted. Do you think Australia's desperate for a public holiday in this middle sort of period between June and about October?
I think we jump on board anything for a public holiday, don't we?
All right, mate, we're going to leave that. We're going to leave it on that one. Once again, we promise to do better next week. It's been a huge episode. We thank Chris Prime for his time, and like you said, we jump on anything at the moment for a little bit of a break, but we promise to do better next week.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks, mate.
In this crazy world we live in, we all need the distraction. Enjoying the show? Like, rate, and subscribe. Hook up and connect with us on social media at Sportscast SA. We'll see you next time on Game On.